But I want to talk about the Sixers because they're 19-4 in their last 23 games. I believe they're top 6 in both offensive and defensive efficiency at this point. Just 2 games back in the loss column of the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference. They're starting to look like a true contender right now.
Yeah.
Not only in the East, but to win it all.
Are they, as of today, do you feel they're Boston's biggest threat?
I do, Tommy. And I'm sorry for the long pause, but I had to really think about this.
Very dramatic.
Milwaukee, briefly. Chris Middleton, that's a question mark. I'm not questioning Chris Middleton, the player, but dealing with these injuries and hasn't looked like himself, although he played well the other night in Detroit. That's a concern. Well, Milwaukee's shooting in general has been very inconsistent. Giannis is going to get 2 and 3 defenders. They've got to be able to knock down shots in a playoff series. Brooklyn is awesome. And with Kevin, they had an amazing stretch. Struggled a little bit, although they had a big win at Golden State over the weekend. Struggled a little bit without Kevin. That's to be expected given that he's your best player and he's so impactful on both ends of the floor. Philadelphia right now, I was looking this up today, is at plus 1,400 on DraftKings to be the NBA champion. They currently have the 8th best odds in the league. That feels a little low. That feels like a value play to me.
Yeah.
The Brooklyn Nets are at plus 600. And what's interesting is how much the Nets have oscillated over the last 6 to 8 months. They opened back in May when this year's championship odds opened. They opened at plus 450. By July 4th, when Kevin Durant was asking for a trade, they were at plus 3,000. In a single day, the ultimatum day on August 8th, they dropped from plus 1,400 to plus 700 when Durant said he was coming back. And they've kind of stayed around there. They were as high as plus 1,200 at December 1st. They feel like a real championship level team, and I'll tell you why. Nick fucking Claxton. His development this year, his progression, both ends of the floor, he should absolutely be in consideration for one of the all-defensive teams. I've heard a number of smart people around the NBA say he should be potentially an all-star. He probably won't get it because I don't think they get 3 all-stars in. But he's having an all-star season.
Yeah. Do you feel like they still need a little depth in the front court, though? I know they've been linked to, like, Naz Reid, for example, a couple other guys, but just adding a piece, it doesn't have to be a star, but just a piece of the deadline.
They need another big. I think that. Was having a conversation with someone yesterday. I'm not going to disclose who it was, but someone that follows the Nets closely. And we were discussing Seth and Joe because you can never have enough shooting. But to me, it feels like one of those guys potentially could be expendable if you were going to make a trade. Seth, so good last night against his former team and his father-in-law, Doc Rivers. But again, he's an undersized guard like Kyrie. So we saw how much size matters in that Boston series last year. Joe, in theory, is a bigger defender, a bigger wing player. So maybe you don't want to get rid of him, but that's a tough decision. If you decide one of those guys becomes expendable to get a difference maker inside. I think they have enough wing depth. TJ Warren, Ben Simmons, Royce O'Neal, Kevin Durant. It's a lot of size on the wing defensively. And I do think that's the position of need. Claxton is a clear starter, clear star-level player, but to have a little more flexibility given a Joel Embiid matchup, given a Giannis matchup in the playoffs, I think that's important.
All right, here's a Philly question for you. Since December 5th, Joel's averaging 35.7 points a game, 10.2 rebounds, 4.1 assists, 65% true shooting. He's 5th in our favorite thing, Raptor, as of today. If this team stays hot, Boston has a couple injuries, for whatever reason, they sneak into the 1 seed, he has to be in that MVP in that top 3 MVP
Yeah.
conversation.
I think it'd be the funniest thing. Not funny to Joel. I think it'd be hilarious, though, in some way. If Jokic wins, Joel is second again.
I will say this.
That would be insane.
I will say this. I'm not an MVP voter. I don't think I will be one for the foreseeable future. If they're the 1 seed and he keeps up like this, he should be the MVP, I think.
He's playing like an
I
MVP,
think.
but he played like an MVP last year. And he played like an MVP.
Yeah.
Like, this is what Joel is. And the markers of great teams, right? Efficient on both sides of the ball. Do you have a real difference maker, a top 5 player? Philly has that. Tommy, really interesting thing about Philly on DraftKings Sportsbook. They have 30% of all money bet on them to win the East. That's the most money bet on any
Philly
team
does.
to win the East. Philly does. Just 12% of the total bets, but in terms of money bet. So there's some sharks out there, some really savvy bettors that are saying Philly's the team, which I find to be interesting. I still think Boston's the best team. I would love to see those two teams in the playoffs.
When I throw down on the NBA action, it's got to be with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Take a shot at an even bigger payout with DraftKings Friday Night Favorites. All you have to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app using code JJ, opt in, and place a 2-leg pregame moneyline parlay, and you'll get a 50% profit boost. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code JJ. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.